Past District Governor Lion Vasu Walwalkar is our next speaker. Whenever listeners across the world hear these words, presenting Lion Vasu Walker, as he likes to call himself because he hails from the spirited state of Goa and brings with him that inimitable energy, those listeners are enthused and infected with that energy. Ladies and gentlemen, get ready for Lion Vasu Walker.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to this session. At the very outset, let me confess, acknowledge, and appreciate that you all are great leaders. You people are leaders in your own right. And the very fact that you people have today tuned into this seminar, which shows your desire to learn more, and learning is an first quality of a good leader. And our topic today is winning edge. What is this winning edge I'm going to refer to? Winning edge is moving from being a good leader to becoming a great leader. And that is precisely what we are going to talk about today. After having agreed and confessed and acknowledged that you people are already your leaders in your own right. You know, leadership is a very cruel game. Why am I calling it cruel? Because you have to complete a puzzle, but all the pieces are not with you. See, what happens is somebody else's success cannot be your success, but somebody else's failure can be your failure. This is a basic quality of working with people. You know, in our academics, we were taught and we were coached to outperform other people, whereas in leadership, we have to perform with other people. This is the difference. In academics, we were taught to compete, whereas in leadership, we have to complete the task with the help of other people. So in academics, we have to understand their solutions are question dependent, but in leadership, solutions are situation dependent, which in other words means you have to have the knack of getting along well with people and make sure that you achieve the ultimate aim that you have in life, ultimate task that you want to do, and you are achieving your goals with the help of your people to the maximum choice and maximum ultimate satisfaction of everyone. You know, whatever we do, our success in whichever field, be it in leadership, be it at our workplace, be it in our family, everything depends on the choices that we make. But here today, I'm going to talk to you especially about three choices, the main three choices, which we talk about: choice of action, choice of purpose, and choice of values. What is the meaning of choice of action? Why am I referring to this action? We are all doing action, especially in Lions. We are so very busy doing activities. But I'm talking about choice of action. The only choice that you have, whether you are going to act upon your life or you're going to just ride like a log of wood in the ocean, coming to the shore during the high tide and going back with the water when it recedes during low tide. Will you want to live a life like that, or you want to act upon something that you want to achieve and what you want to become? That is the first choice that we have. The second choice is choice of purpose. What is our purpose of being here? Our choice is whether I would just want to become a normal lion, I would be there as a lion, I would just be there as a leader with the position, or I want to be a lion who will be looked upon by other people, who will be respected by other people, who will be acknowledged by other people, with whom other people would want to be loyal and will want to associate with him. That is our purpose. So we do not want to move away from the purpose. First, we have to identify and make a choice of what is the purpose of our leadership. Is only to achieve positions, or you want to actually do something with those positions? That is our second choice. And the third choice that we have is choice of values. Now, values, everybody talks about values. The whole world knows what the values are. Values remain the same no matter where you go, whether you go to India, New Delhi, whether you go to New Zealand, whether you go to New York, values remain the same. But the winning edge of every leader, let me emphasize, the winning edge and what we are going to refer to throughout this session is nothing but values, values, and values. We should not compromise on it. I will talk to this values in detail when we come to later part of this session. But initially, after having made choices of action, purpose, and values, let's understand in simple terms what I mean by giving you a few secrets of winning edge. Winning edge is nothing but it's your ability to work with people, to produce meaningful and impactful results for the community, because we are a social organization, we are a service organization. I will talk about 4 secrets of winning edge. First and foremost, we have to learn. I will just say that we should learn to give away power. When we, in this world, everybody is craving for power, everybody is running after power, everybody is doing everything that they should do or they can do or they could do just to gain more and more power. I am making a statement here that first and foremost, as a good leader or a great leader, learn to give away power. I know many of you may not agree with me, many of you may raise question marks on this particular statement, but power has two sides. Let's understand this categorically. Power as a negative power and power as a positive power. Negative power is like, when we are talking about I want to govern, I want to rule, it is talking about the formal authority. Negative power is talking about status, position, control, govern, command, coerce. These are the words that are normally associated with this negative power. But what I'm looking at is the positive power. Positive power is building people. And in positive power, when you're building people, you are talking about coaching, you're talking about helping people, you're talking about energizing people, you're talking about motivating people, you're talking about facilitating people, you're talking about educating people, you're talking about equipping people. That is the positive power. So when I say give away power, I'm referring to give away the negative power, which only talks about governing, controlling, manipulating, coercing people, controlling people. Move away from that, and you work with the positive power, which only talks about coaching and guiding and being with people, mentoring people, and all this positive power. With this positive power, you can develop an ability that is secret number one of making other people stronger rather than weaker as a result of your interaction with them. What do I mean by this? I will repeat this sentence. Make other people feel stronger rather than weaker as a result of your interaction with them. It is very simple. You should just learn to recognize other people's strengths, their intelligence, their ideas, their efforts they put in, and whatever they perform and whatever they have achieved. We should be able to respect that and recognize it and appreciate it. That is, if somebody comes to you, let me give an example. Somebody comes to you and just says, "Sir, I've done so and so thing, so and so activities this year." You cannot say to them, "That's nothing, my friend. That other club has done so many activities." By doing that, what we are actually doing is we are demeaning the other person who's talking to, and he will go back demotivated. So when I'm making this point, make other people feel stronger rather than weaker, meaning you are motivating them, you are elevating them as a result of your interaction with them. They should not go demotivated. That is the first secret. And in this, you have to remember, forget about the pecking orders of any type, because in organization also, even alliance, we have pecking orders, we have that hierarchy. This hierarchy is administrative positions that we have only for 1 year. But in relationship that we are going to build up with our people, we have to forget about this pecking order. We have to make sure that everybody is respected as an equal. All are equals. There is nothing called some are more equal like the animal farm. Let's remember that. Recognize people's strengths and honor people's efforts. They may not be as good as you. Their performance may not be as good as your performance. Their commitment level may not be as good as your commitment level. Their competence level may not be as good as your competence level. But you always honor and recognize that everybody brings some strengths to the party. Forget about what they have left at home. Appreciate their efforts, recognize their efforts, honor people's efforts. No matter how high, they may not be as good as you, and they may also not be as good as they could have done otherwise with your help. So honor those efforts. Involve other people in planning, problem solving, and decision making. So very essential. We all know, we all have been talking about this. Everything that I'm going to speak to you for the next 25 minutes is not from Mars, it is from the earth itself, and absolute common sense. I'm only putting them together for you to remember as 4 secrets of having the winning edge. The first secret is making other people feel more stronger than weaker as a result of your interaction. What does that mean? There's a word of caution there, and the word of caution is it does not mean using idle flattery. You should not look artificial. It should not have looked like idle flattery in an attempt to win their approval. Also, it does not mean offering people help in ways that they cause people to feel inferior. That means if somebody doesn't need your help, don't just simply go and show him that you know much better than him and try to help. Unless he asks you for help, do not go and help him. And the third one is, it also does not mean giving up your self-esteem. You cannot compromise your self-esteem just because you want to get along well with people. You deal with them, work with them, associate with them with the self-esteem that you have, and that will also improve the self-esteem of the people who we are working with. That is secret number one. Let's go to secret number two. Secret number two says that we have to work in the team. We all know about it. Team building itself, I think there somebody must be taking a session or may have already taken a session on team building. But let's understand and remember one thing, that today's team builders will be tomorrow's leaders. People who are working in team today, you cannot occupy a position throughout your life as a leader. So somebody else also needs to come up, somebody else also grow up as a leader. But if they learn to work in the team, they will become tomorrow's leaders. Collaboration is better than competition over the long run. Let's understand and remember this. But here I will make a statement. Of course, many of you may not agree with this statement or may raise a question mark on this statement. But let me first make a statement. You know, when I'm talking about collaboration and cooperation and competition, every person is in a state of competition. Suppose I say, no person on this earth is happy to be rich. No person on this earth is happy to be handsome or beautiful or good looking, as we may call it. And no person on this earth is happy to be intelligent. I'm making a statement. I'm saying nobody here is happy to be rich, happy to be better looking or good looking, or happy to be intelligent. I don't know how many of you would agree with me, but I will make a next statement so that you will understand what I'm trying to say. I will say every person on this earth, or every person in our society, is happy to be richer than somebody else, is happy to be better looking than somebody else, or happy to be more intelligent than somebody else, which in itself says that we are in a constant state of competition rather than collaboration. But if you want to have the second secret of having that winning edge in leadership, remember, collaboration is always better than competition. We should always be together. More cooperation and less competition. Yes, competition with yourself. What you were yesterday and what you want to become today, or what you have become today and what you want to become tomorrow. That competition could be with you. That will come into your purpose. And most importantly, remember, there are no shortcuts most often. Okay, so we should not cut short when dealing with people. The shortcut most often runs out to be a long way. Secret number three. Secret number three. Avoid too valued thinking traps. What does this mean? You know, right from our childhood, we are being trained that you are either wrong or right. When you write your examination paper, your question, the answer is either right or wrong. If you go to judiciary, you are either acquitted or convicted. When you go to your religious places, either you sin or you don't sin. When you grow up in life, your ego comes into the picture. So we have been trained and brought up in such a way that we think that entire life of ours proposes only two things, values for us, or only two choices for us. But life does not present itself with only two choices. It has plenty of choices. There's nothing called black or white. There's nothing called only right or wrong. There can always be a situation which is what is right and what is wrong in the given set of situation. That is multi-valued thinking. That is multi-valued depending on the situation. In other words, when you talk about situational leadership, you choose a solution depending on the situation and depending on the task and depending on the person. This has to be most valued secret of ours, and we have to remember there is nothing called right and wrong and who's right. We have to always think what is right and what is wrong in the given set of circumstances. What was right yesterday may not be right today, and what is right today may not be right tomorrow. So once we know about this, your third secret will come into play, and almost every situation can be analyzed properly if it is viewed from a variety of perspectives. We have to always appreciate and accept that there are going to be different perspectives, and your perceptions in life depend on various factors. Those factors could be a geographical area that you come from. It could be an educational background. It could also be your culture, it could be from your education, it could be from your company of friends that you keep, it could be from the type of TV channels you watch, which could be based on type of books that you read. Various factors are affecting our perceptions. So we have to accept that each individual we are working with may have a different perception, and each one may come up with different ideas and set of solutions for us. That is the third secret. Avoid too valued thinking trap. It's a big trap. Let's understand it's a big trap. Let's also understand that every choice, every situation that we face with has a multi-value choice depending on the situation. Then let's come to secret number 4. But in this third secret, let's remember you have to be careful of the following. Avoid analysis paralysis. The first point, caution, point number 1. If we waste a lot of time in trying to find all the possible solutions which are there, in doing so, we may end up into analysis paralysis. So avoid analysis paralysis. Avoid indecisiveness. If you spend months and months to find out the solution, and if you try to say, let me not decide, the biggest quality of a leader is being decisive and taking the right decision. It could be right decision, it could be wrong decision, but it has to be taken. So you avoid analysis paralysis, avoid indecisiveness, and remember that some decisions are too valued, and that those decisions, especially when it comes to our values, when we have a choice of values that we are going to live with, decisions about your values is always too valued. It's either wrong or it is right. Here there is no multiple choices. So let's remember, because I'm going to come to values finally when we are going to come to an end, towards the end of this session. We have to remember carefully that decisions about the values are only too valued, and it's not a trap. Okay, let's go to the fourth secret. Fourth secret of your winning edge says influence for the future. What does this mean, influence for the future? The influence for the future means we should not waste time in talking about what is right, what is wrong, and who did wrong and what was wrong. It's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's not about what is right and what is wrong. It's about looking at the future. And in future, what we are looking at is how can we avoid the mistakes or the problems that we face or situation that we faced in the past, and look for the future so that those mistakes are not repeated. Am I very clear? Influence for the future. Do not waste your time on playing a blame game. We, unfortunately, most of us in our leadership have a habit of looking at the past and saying that, looking at who has done this, why are we failing, and we waste our time only on this. So actually what we are doing in this is we are looking backward instead of looking forward. Looking at the back is important. Looking at the back is also required to make sure that you are not making the same mistake. But do not waste or spend your time on only looking at the back. You have to spend more time on looking forward. That is called influencing for the future. Then the next point in the fourth secret comes is develop a common vision. Develop a common vision with your colleagues. When I was talking about purpose, your vision, you should be able to communicate. You first design or define a vision for your colleagues, and make sure that you communicate your vision properly to your colleagues so that they also buy into your vision. Otherwise, you will be running around your own vision and your own mission statement, and your people and your colleagues will not be with you. Solve your problems in the future, I've already told you, and create a shared sense of identity and responsibility. The final point that I'm making here on this particular slide is create a shared sense of identity and responsibility. And actually, in our organization, we have this responsibility, and we are actually following this responsibility on our shoulders and taking it correctly. You know, this lapel pin that we wear, lion's pin, that is our shared sense of identity. If you go to see, we all wear this pin with a pride, and this is showing us and reminding us all the time that we have to work together. We are here together for a common purpose, and we together have to work for the future, because the past, now especially in Lions, for the last 102 years, our past, so many people, so many generations have gone. They have started this organization. They have carried it forward till 102 years. And this shared sense of identity of this lapel pin, which has come from 102 years, that shows us and guides us with our responsibility for the future, in which direction we are going to take our organization. So create that shared sense of identity. Each district has a different pin, so that shows you are belonging to the district. That identifies your belongingness to a particular area, and that is the shared sense of identity. So if we remember these four secrets, one is team building, one is the influence of the future, not getting into the two value trap, and the first one is making other people feel important and not weaker as a result of your interaction with them. These are the four secrets of winning edge. But if you have noticed, if we also understand, we everybody here sitting, I think on the screen will know that leadership is influence. We all talk about leadership, but what exactly we mean by influence? We all have leadership by position. We agree? Everybody has certain position. Whoever, maybe a club president, maybe a zone chairperson, maybe a region chairperson, maybe a vice district governor, governor, IDs, PIDs. We all have come. So with your position, although we do not believe in leadership with position, with your position, some leadership will be there. And what is leadership? Getting followers and getting influence. So with your position, some amount of leadership followers will definitely come with you. So leadership is position is one. Leadership with position and content. And what is its content? Influencing people with your position is one way, and influencing people with the content, what you are made of, what you believe in, what exactly do you believe in, what you stand for, that is the content, and how you deliver it to your people, how you convince your people, how you influence them with that readiness of theirs to believe in what you trust, that is your content. I'm going step by step. The third position leadership is position and content and values. Am I making myself clear? So your leadership position will give you certain followers. Your position and content will also give you certain followers, and you will influence people. And also your values, the most important aspect in today's world, which is going to determine whether you are a leader, just a leader, good leader, or a great leader. The winning edge, the X factor, person who will be respected, the person who will be trusted, person who will be followed, person who will be missed after he is gone. That is what will be decided by only your values. Your values decide whether people trust you or not. Your values will decide how people will view you. Your values will decide who you are. Your values will decide what you stand for. So apart from your position and content, the most important factor for the winning edge of a leader is values, and that is the catalyst. That's why that caption on top, catalyst. We all have qualities. We all have qualities of leadership. We have the knowledge, we have the skills, we have the communication skills, we have decision making skills, whatever we talk about leadership as the concepts, we all have all that. But when I'm talking referring to catalyst, let's understand the catalyst, even in chemical reactions, even if you have all the ingredients and put them together in a container, the chemical doesn't react because it requires a catalyst. Likewise, in spite of having the knowledge, skill, and time and talent of a leader, we cannot become great leaders. We cannot have that winning edge, or we cannot have that X factor to become a leader of repute and great respect unless you have the values in it. That is why, if you have seen the second last line, I put leadership as position plus content plus values. But when I talk about values and emphasize on values so much, the last line says leadership is position plus content multiplied by values. The values is the catalyst for our leadership to become the greatest leader. So catalyst for our leadership in life, and catalyst for our leadership in a workplace, and catalyst for our leadership in our social circles is developing your real self. So in other words, your self development is the biggest catalyst in everything that you do. Let me give you an example here. Whenever I meet somebody, we ask him, what is your experience in Lionism? They say, I'm 14 years experience. Somebody says, I've got 20 years experience. Someone says, I've got 25 years experience. That's fine. What I keep asking them is, working for 15 years or 20 years in an organization, or being a member of that organization for 15 years, 20 years, does not give you experience, my dear friends. It is just like saying you have worked for 1 year into 14 times, plus as repeated it for 14 times or repeated it for 19 times. So that does not give you experience. So time spent does not give you experience. If you want to get experience, you have to learn something from whatever you have done for 15 years, and that learning will give you the experience. So that learning you are going to do in whatever time that you have spent is your catalyst. You understand? So you just cannot just become a leader of great repute unless you do everything which is going to catalyze what you do. Many of you must be aware of this particular slide that I'm showing. Maslow's law of self-actualization, right? Actually, it is a Maslow's pyramid for life, a person's needs. Everybody is, I'm sure each one of you who are attending this particular seminar are aware of this entire pyramid of Maslow's law, what did you call, which speaks about basic needs, psychological needs, and self-fulfillment needs. But I will show you the next pyramid. This is your pyramid for your life. Let us see how this can be seen as a pyramid for a leadership or at a workplace or at a social organization. Similar pyramid I have made on the next slide, which talks about achievement, mastery, and purpose. Let me go back and just see how you understand and compare this. Here we have three levels. One is basic needs, psychological needs, and self-fulfillment needs. You know, in life, everyone, especially we lions, or for anyone for that matter, meeting with the social, psychological needs and safety needs, which is a basic needs, is very easy. Not very easy, but at least 99% of us have already achieved it. Moment we start working somewhere, we take up a job, we start our business, these first two things, the basic needs are immediately met, and then we move slowly from basic needs to psychological needs, and from psychological needs to self-fulfillment needs. As we are growing in Lionism also, we are fulfilling all these three needs. But when you come to this one, here there's a little bit of word of caution. There is little bit of a thing that we have to be aware of, that this achievement, which is a base, we very often or most often get caught into this trap. We achieve something, we work hard, we put in lot of efforts, we strive to achieve something in maybe in our organization, maybe at a workplace, and we get into a comfort zone, or we get into a habit of achieving and achieving and achieving and achieving. We just develop that habit of achieving more and more and more and more. I would call it a beast. I would like to call it a beast, which is a hungry beast. Once you achieve something in a particular organization, you want to achieve more. You want to achieve more. So in doing that, running after achievement after achievement after promotion and maybe increment and maybe certain promotion in positions and all that, we tend to spend a lot of time on this achievement, and which means that we are only striving hard for our achievements and not for the achievements of our people. We are so engrossed in achieving something for ourselves that we do not look at our people who are supposed to be with us, or looking at us to follow us, to make us as role models, to learn from us, to take us as mentors, and they need to grow. We are doing nothing for them. So we are stuck on this base called achievement. And if you want to have that winning edge, if you want to become a leader who's going to be a great leader, then we have to, the faster we move from this achievement to mastery. Mastery in what we have been doing, mastery in what we have been achieving, mastery in what we have been accomplishing. How we can really improve in doing things. That means we have to move from doing things in a better way, what we have been already doing. So we are from quantity, we have to go to a quality. So increase your, here I would say improve your quality of doing. That is called mastery. So whatever you have been doing, whatever you have been achieving, you have to achieve mastery over that achievement, so that other people can learn from you. And finally, from achievement to mastery, from mastery to purpose. I started this session with the three choices: choice of action, choice of purpose, and choice of values, right? So in this pyramid of workplace, in this pyramid of an organization, you have to move from achievement. Enough is enough. You should have a sense of fulfillment. I have achieved enough. Let me do whatever I've been doing in a much better way. Let me master the way of attaining this. And finally, let me identify what my purpose is. My purpose is to come to this level from wherein I become a role model for my people. I become a coach for my people. I become a mentor for my people. I educate my people. I guide my people. I equip my people. My purpose is to have a vision for all of us, people who are working with me, and the purpose is to bring them up, help them to achieve more, help them to come to the master level. That means you are giving a helping hand to your people to come up to this level which is called purpose. I hope I've been clear with this. Am I? Then I will move to the next. 30 minutes is not enough to actually elaborate every point. So let's go quickly so that I will only say a few points and you can then finally highlight and elaborate all this. Let's look at this. When we are talking about values, now this diagram that I'm going to show you is because of our values. I had spoken about values. So if you ask anybody about the values, we normally talk about. We also in Lions we have a code of ethics. Every organization has their values that they focus on. The values could be various. It could be what we normally talk at code of ethics. We do not do this, do not do this, do not do this. We are not supposed to do this, we are not supposed to do that. So we are looking at negative values which we are not supposed to indulge into most often. Very often we forget that we have to talk about the positive values that we have to inculcate or grow within us that we do not do. I hope everybody is understanding what I'm saying. If I ask someone, are you honest? I feel 99.9% of the people whom if we ask this question, they will say yes, I am honest. They say the most honest people are found in prison, because if you go there and interview them, they will say I was the most honest person. I've been framed, or I was caught at the wrong time in the wrong place, various things. But everybody thinks he's an honest person. I'm referring to one value. I'm not referring to all the other values. I'm just referring to one value as an example. Let's talk about either humility or honesty. So first we'll talk about honesty, and if we have the time, we'll talk about humility and maybe more characters and more values. So I'm giving this as an example with honesty. So everybody thinks he is honest, and nothing wrong in it, because we have not identified or laid down any standard to measure honesty. As long as I am doing something right and I feel it is right, I am honest. So we do not know. So there is no measure. So what we are thinking about here is we on this diagram, I'm trying to help you to learn how to measure your honesty. Let's look at this example in Indian roads, especially. In some of the towns or places in India, we find people spitting all over. If you have spit in your mouth, you're spitting. You like feel like spitting. You want to spit, and it happens everywhere in most of our streets. Or let's look at the red light, meaning the traffic signals. You are driving a car. You are at the traffic signal. You have stopped because there is a red light there. But other people are not waiting for the red light, and they are breaking the signal and they are going away. You are there, and after some time you feel, since everybody is going, I may also go. You have broken a rule, but you are doing it because you feel if all others are doing, I may as well do it. This is what is happening to us in corruption as well. So you are not doing something because you believe in it that you should do it, or you are not doing it because you believe that that should not be done. We are being carried away by other people. So in this diagram, what I have done, what I'm showing is, look, others on one axis and I, that is me, on one axis. Do right, and do wrong, and do wrong. So if you look at this, here you get various deviants. Deviants are when you are doing wrong when everybody else is doing right. People are not breaking signal, but you are breaking a signal, right? And in the other one here, you are breaking a signal because everybody else is breaking a signal. Here you are following a signal, the majority honesty. Here, because everybody else is doing right, you are also doing right. But where we need to grow, where we need to move from, is into this figure, this which says pristine honesty. You have to be honest because you believe in honesty. Even if somebody else takes bribe, you are not going to take bribe. If somebody breaks signal, you are not going to break signal because you believe that it should not be broken. You will not spit because somebody else is spitting. And there is also a geographical way or a biological way. We may be spitting, we may be having that compulsion of spitting in Mumbai, for example, but we will not have that in Singapore, because Singapore there is a rule says that we are not supposed to do it. So we get carried away that way. So my time is already up. I'm already 4 minutes into extra time. So I only hope that you people have understood, because in 30 minutes I could do whatever little elaboration that I could. But I wish you all the very best. One fine day, if the time permits or if we get a chance, in physical training, we'll elaborately speak on this at least for 1.5 hours. With this, I thank you all for being patient and being here on the screen throughout. And let me thank the organizers for having given me this opportunity to speak to you people of moving from just a lion to just a leader, and from just a leader to becoming a great leader. We are looking forward to great leaders in Lionism, because we have to grow in the next century. Thank you so much. God bless you.